Every human being feels desire. It's not a flaw, not a deviation from nature. It is nature, a primal pulse, a flame that rises from the deepest layers of the will. But the essential question is not whether you feel desire, but what you do with it. What if the very desire you've tried to silence, disguise, or restrain for years is in fact the master key to unlocking your true essence? What if that restless pull you've been taught to fear is not a distraction, but a weapon? A latent force that, if understood, Niccolo Machiavelli, though often misunderstood and caricatured as a cold manipulator, saw further than most. He grasped the human soul not as an idealized abstraction, but in its raw, volatile truth. He understood that desire was not weakness to be crushed, but a resource to be shaped. Because desire, in its purest form, is the origin of transformation. It is the seed of conquest, the breath of invention, the heartbeat of history itself. Suppressing it is not virtue. It is suicide of the will. Machiavelli would never advise you to castrate your instincts like a trembling monk. He would warn you that what is repressed does not die. It decays, turns inward, becomes poison. Repressed desire metastasizes into fear, anxiety, passivity, even illness. And a man ruled by unconscious compulsions is a man who will always serve someone else's plan. The path of mastery is not the path of purity. The true strategist does not extinguish fire, he makes it obey. For Machiavelli, desire was never just about the body. It was about expansion, the hunger to leave a mark, the thirst to bend reality. What most call lust, he would identify as misdirected ambition. What others shamefully bury, he would investigate, weaponize, and deploy. He might never have used the term libido, but he understood its nature, the energetic current that drives a man to rise, to build, to seduce, to dominate, to endure. The problem is not desire. The real problem is ignorance of its function. Suppress it, and it becomes your jailer. Obey it blindly, and it becomes your tyrant. But study it, own it, and you possess a force few can comprehend, let alone control. Machiavelli saw what others didn't. Behind every alliance and betrayal, behind every love story and every battlefield, lies a desire, disguised, distorted, hidden in plain sight. Desire is the shadow beneath the throne, the whisper behind the crown. It is never neutral, yet modern society trains you to shrink from your fire. It teaches you to call it sin, shame, disease. It brands your inner power as dangerous so that you never touch it. Because if you ever dared to wield that fire, if you ever dared to question your conditioning, you would be untouchable. You would stop obeying. You would stop asking, and you would start commanding. Machiavelli understood that the most threatening thing in this world is a man who has looked into his own abyss without flinching. A man who doesn't beg for permission to feel, a man who knows his hunger, names it, and converts it into calculated action. A man like that cannot be controlled. He is the variable that breaks the system. This is what the weak do not grasp. That denied desire rots in silence, but directed desire becomes influence. It becomes persuasion. It becomes gravitas. Artists turn wounds into music. Warriors transmute fear into sharp tactics. Lovers, when not consumed by emotion, can transfigure longing into loyalty, lust into leverage. The secret is not denial, it is transmutation. Sublimation, in Machiavelli's world, is not spiritual transcendence. It is operational genius. Tactical redirection, it is turning raw instinct into functional power. A man who feels deeply but acts with discipline is not in conflict. He is evolution incarnate. Fire only burns those who flee it. The strategist? He turns it into a torch and walks through darkness with advantage. Have you not noticed? The most dangerous men are never loud. They do not posture. They do not explode. They burn silently. Their eyes betray nothing. Their movements are deliberate. Their presence is undeniable. They carry a hidden flame, refined, weaponized, lethal. That calm is not natural. It is earned, forged in private wars, hammered by restraint, tempered by vision. Even your dreams, those flickers you dismiss in the morning, contain the ashes of your abandoned ambitions. Whether or not you believe in the unconscious is irrelevant. It believes in you. It speaks in images. It howls through insomnia. It places strange symbols in your sleep, and all of them ask the same question. What have you buried that was meant to lead? Machiavelli would not waste time analyzing symbols like a mystic. He would ask what tactical intelligence your dream is offering. What part of you is staging a silent revolt? What instinct have you ignored so thoroughly that it now dresses itself in fantasy just to be heard? Desire always begins in the mind. Before you fall in love, before you chase wealth, before you betray your ideals, desire has already launched its campaign. And if you do not catch it, if you do not name it, it will rule you from within. If you do not master your thoughts, you're not a sovereign. You are a servant. Desire is the invisible general of your decisions. And your shame? That's not morality. That's the leash society ties around your fire. The so-called rational man who thinks he is in control because he suppresses himself is already lost. He has outsourced his power to others, his wife, his boss, his culture, his trauma. Machiavelli understood, if you do not govern your own fire, someone else will burn you with it. But the man who dares to face his chaos, who channels his cravings with precision, who refines his fury into focus, he becomes unreadable, unpredictable, unstoppable. He does not explode, he expands. He does not beg, he moves. He does not react, he strategizes. The path to power is not paved with silence, it is walked with awareness. Conscious desire is not noise, it is navigation. It reveals where your soul is still alive, where your instincts are pointing, where your unlived life is waiting. But that road is not soft. It demands brutality with your illusions. It requires sacrifice of your victimhood. It strips you of comfort and coats you in clarity. The alternative? A life spent apologizing for your own blood. When you deny your longing, you amputate your own sovereignty. You become a puppet, a hollow vessel filled with someone else's dogma, someone else's discipline, someone else's agenda. You no longer move from your own will, you drift. Desire is not sin. It is not weakness. It is code. And only fools ignore a message delivered from the depths. The men who reshape the world do not silence their hunger. They refine it. They convert their instincts into structures, their urges into victories. They do not reject their shadows. They integrate them. And because of that, they command attention without asking for it. So let me ask you again, what if the very feeling you've been avoiding is the one that could crown you king? What if the desire you call shame is actually a compass? What if desire, ignored, enslaves you, but desire, examined, weaponized, sets you free? This world does not belong to the abstinent. It belongs to the lucid, not to the pure, but to the perceptive, not to the modest, but to the masterful. You were not born to kneel before your own fire. You were born to command it, to study it, to wield it. Let your desire speak, but never bow to it. Interrogate it, refine it, aim it, turn it into your sword. That is the Machiavellian way, not denial, not indulgence, but absolute dominion, not spiritual escape, but inner conquest. And in that conquest, you will not find peace, but something far more valuable: clarity, direction power, sovereignty. Because in the end, power is not claimed by words, but by presence. It is not what you feel, but what you forge, not what you hide, but what you harness. The man who transforms his desire becomes the man others follow, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it.